Good morning. This is John Peters. Mr. Jackson asked me to talk a little bit about why take networking courses, what's the advantage of it, what is a network, and what you need to know out of getting a course in networking. Well, first of all, let me give you a couple examples. First of all, there have a couple, well, I'm going to list three students right now that have really done well in networking and the type of stuff that they did. So there's levels of networking. First of all, there's the real networking expert. There's the one that understands networking to be a basic person, and then there's just a networking user. We have three people now that are at this level of networking right now. One, Jake, is a major player in a startup company out of Israel, in fact, looking for different types of people on there. Champagne is a person that, after he finished school, took 6 more months of intense training. He's now moved out of Minnesota. It can live anywhere he wants. By the way, both of these people are allowed to work from home on there. And bought motorcycles and boats and all that, living down in Florida. He's going to take a little time off here and motorcycle up to Alaska when the weather turns good. Then Lyle, who is now a major player at UPS, setting up the networking systems and the computers and all this. All three of them learned the stuff that they felt, I feel, they needed to know to be the greatest networkers in the world. Now, did this come overnight? No. Did you get everything from school? No. What you have to be able to do is learn what we tell you you need to learn here, then expand as you get onto the job. Because all of them basically started in computer support, but in the networking area. Now, what is a network? Okay, a network is anything that allows multiple computing devices to talk to each other as they're working their way through the information world. So what we have in here, by the way, it's the advantage of me being able to do this from the Manila, Philippines while I'm on vacation to talk to you. But it's multiple devices allowing any one or two or more computers to talk to each other. Now, on top of this, when we're working on this type of device, we have different parts of it. There's an endpoint, which is normally a computer, and there are two endpoints generally for two computers to talk to each other. Now, in between those, there are multiple devices, which are intermediate devices, that allow it to travel through the network on there. So, as we're working our way through that, each one of these devices on the network is called a node. There's endpoint nodes, and there's intermediate nodes on there. And you'll have to understand what the purpose of each of these nodes is to become a networker. One of the things is when something goes wrong, you have to find out where it went wrong. So let's just take a look about it. Also on the endpoint, there's clients. That's like your PC, that's like your phone. There's hosts. That's like a server, the web server, the mail server. Those are both generally endpoint nodes in there. Your routers, your modems, your switches are our intermediate nodes. So you'll have to know which each one of those does when you're working with this. So that's what we need to work with. Excuse me. So as we go along in this course, to figure out where the problem is or where it can be confused, we use something called protocols. You have to know what a protocol is. Essentially, a protocol is the code and the procedure that you use to get from point A to point B and get it there correctly and back. So you need to know what all of those are. So part of a protocol is an Ethernet. Ethernet is made up of packets, and you're going to have to be able to describe what that piece of information does as it goes across the Ethernet packet. Another protocol that we are all basically based on is the OSI level. OSI protocol, sorry. Physical data link, right on up there. There's 7 layers on that. You have to know each one of those layers. What will happen for those of you that go interviewing on a network? They'll put out the job on there, must be able to understand the parts of OSI layer 1, which is basically the wires, the hardware stuff. You have to, or they'll say they work on layer 2 on here. That networker will be working on this one of the intermediate nodes and how your endpoint talks to the intermediate node. Layer 3, layer 4. It's starting at layer 5, that's where programmers come in. 6 and 7 is basically all programmers. So LSI layer 1 is basically a pure networker that works on the hardware. Layer 2 is a networker that works on some of the interior net hardware. Layer 3 is works on the routers and stuff like that. So the OSI layer. Now the thing that we all use now is TCP, Transaction Control Protocol. Transaction Control Protocol. Understand what that is, how it works, and it works on TCP IP and TCP UDP. Okay? So there's two different ways TCP works. That's all what our current internet is based on. Now we have TCP IP4 and TCP IP6 on here. Don't worry about the differences yet on there. Most of it is TCP IP4. 6 is still in the future. TCP IP4 can only handle a few billion users, and TCP IP6 can handle the number of users or endpoints or nodes that exist in the atoms in the known universe. So I don't think we'll ever run out of that. So you'll have to understand what those two protocols are, what does what and where. Go through there. Make sure when you go through this that you understand what that does. So far we're getting to the point where we're not necessarily full lower level 1. We're just a little bit at that point where you're here and the full layer 1, the full layer 1 support person's right about here. So you got to know how to do that. You'll have to be able to do binary and breaking up, doing some binary math, because everything on a computer is ones and zeros. So you're going to have to be able to convert binary to decimal, decimal to binary, binary to hexadecimal, which is base 16, and hexadecimal to binary. What you see when you get a blue screen of death, which I'm sure most of you have seen in your life, is that it creates a dump file. That's all in hexadecimal. So when you move past this layer here, you're all the way past here, you want to move up to here. You want to be able to read that hexadecimal stuff at level here. Now one of the courses that networkers will be taking later on is ethical hacking. Ethical hacking, these people have to understand NAPs, so they know how to move around the system, say where they are at in the system, and work on there. So that's just two things that you'll have to learn how to do. Read hexadecimal. Okay, now the next thing that you need to understand is what a packet is. Things do not, as I'm talking here, as it goes across the internet, it does not come in one big chunk. If you send all of this movie in one big chunk and the internet goes down halfway, or just a little burp in the internet as we go along, it's going to say you have to start completely over. A packet is a small bit of information that they send in a certain order, and it has which number it is. So if one of them screws up and it gets the next one, what you have to do is go, it figures out, no, I have to go back, retransmit this piece of information over to you and all that. Each packet has a set of information that you, as a networker, need to know what it does. It has, I'm starting the packet, this is how long the packet is, this is the data, and this tells me whether it got there successfully or not, and it goes back there. The other thing that people will ask you, what is a three-way handshake? A three-way handshake says, hey, I want to talk to you, and it comes back and says, okay, it's okay to talk to me, and then it comes back and say, okay, I'm going to start talking, and then they start talking because they figure out who, what, and where all of they are. So those are some of the things on there that you have to know how that works. What a three-way three-way handshake is. You have to know that. Got that? Three-way handshake. You have to know that. You have to know what hexadecimal is and what it does, because all computers are based on binary, and hexadecimal allows you to compact the binary so you can read it quickly. So the other thing you're going to have to understand is the difference between digital and analog. When you talk on an old phone, that's analog. It causes a vibration on the thing that's turned into electricity, and it goes like this, and it can become distorted on the way. Now, when you're using your mobile phone, when you're using any of the phones in the call center, that is converted to digital. Same thing starts. It goes in here, you talk to it, the vibration is turned into an analog signal, which then is turned into a digital signal. The digital signal then takes that information and sends it, puts it into packets as it goes across, because on is 1, off is 0, and as we talk about things, every letter, every color is a set of ones and zeros. So what goes across the network is these ones and zeros in digital. It makes sure that you can get the clarity that you need. You'll have to understand eventually all the wireless types of things. 2.4 gigahertz, that's a digital signal that is about this wide. Okay, 5.4 gigahertz, it's closer together. If you turn on a microwave with a 2.4, you'll lose your signal if it's in between. If you go in 5.4, since it's closer together, the microwave won't screw it up. 5.4 doesn't go quite as far. You'll have to understand what Bluetooth is. Those are some of the things that you will have to learn as a networker as you go across. I'm going to spend a few minutes now talking about certification on there. Mr. Jackson has probably told you, and Chuck, which is a person that is really going to be going far in this, he's only a year and a half out and he's already gotten a couple of promotions on there. Your basic one is PC fundamentals. You have to understand what computers are, what they do, and the different parts of the computers. Then there's the A certification, A+. That talks about the relationship of PC hardware with PC software, how it all works together, how to put a PC together. Those two, I think, are minimum for you to become promoted in there. Now in certification, I've given this talk several different times. This is where you're going to get paid if you're a high school graduate. This is what you're going to get paid if you got an AA degree, and this is what you're going to pay if you have the basic certification. This is what you're going to get paid if you have both certification and the AA degree. Now, in either case, you start here. You'll get out of school. You'll have the AA degree or the diploma degree. Okay, you'll have that. You'll be paid right there. As you go along, good companies will allow you to take the test to go up there. Now, I think a lot of you would probably prefer to actually, instead of starting here, to start right about here and then go up. Because whatever you start with, you'll grow at the same rate all the way through your career on your pay scale. So if you start here, your pay is going to grow as you learn more, but it's going to grow like this instead of like this. So if you can get both the certification and the AA at start. So what happens is people like Chuck has gone to the Network Plus certification. That's this track. Champagne went to Cisco. They both got their A+, and then they got their certifications in networking on there. Cisco and CompTIA, they're basically the same type of thing as far as you are concerned. Cisco tends to go more to the pure Cisco side, which is a large company in there. And CompTIA is more general, and it goes through almost all the companies. But the pay, as you go up in there, the very top of this level is a network architecture. You have network engineer, network architecture. The people I know that are in network architecture generally earn much money, much bigger than $100,000. So you'll be, if you're into this job, you'll want to do this certification. You're going to want to learn it. You want to learn the details, and you're going to want to be studying forever. Everybody that I've talked to have said, I've learned more in the first 6 months than I out of work than I did in school, because it is generally what you need to do for that job. Also, when you get on the job, make sure you find somebody, look around. You're probably going to be starting in a support job, which is a great thing to do. You're going to probably start in a support job. Why is it a great thing? Well, first of all, when you get out of school, you don't know exactly what you want to do. You know what we liked in school. That gives you an idea. But look around when you get into a good support job. Look at the people. Find out what they are doing and would you really like to do that, because you're going to see this in the real life. So take a look at what they are doing. Find somebody. This is called interpersonal networking. Find somebody who seems to be good at what they're doing. Make friends with them. Say, can you show me how you got to here, how you learned this? Make them feel good about what they know. So go around and learn from other people at work. This is one of the key things that you will need to do when you are a programmer or networker. By the way, I forgot to say, programmers, why are you bothered to learn any of this? Well, how many programs are you seeing right now that does not connect to the internet? Even your games, your MRPGs. 5 people connect to a server, they're playing each other. It's networking. Chat, Facebook. That's why programmers need to learn networking, because so few programs are based just on your own little PC, or your own little phone, or your own little tablet, or your $5,000 gaming computer in which you have your virtual headset on, because the headset talks to your computer. So that's why everybody needs to understand the basics of this networking course. If you have any questions, you can reach me at ajpeters@outlook.com, ajpeters@outlook.com. Ask me a question. I'll answer them. It may not be the same day, okay, because right now I'm in a 12-hour zone and I just gotten over getting used to a different sleep cycle, so that's how this all works. So you can contact me. You can contact me through Mr. Jackson. You can contact me through Ms. Adams about anything that you want to know. Okay? You have questions, you can ask me. Thanks for your time. I hope you found this knowledgeable.